start.
David, on behalf of the 2012 West Star class, I'm honored that you accepted my request for this interview, and I really do appreciate it so much.
I'm so glad to be here.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, there's a kind of a line of questioning and stuff that kind of will go into, and I know that in 10 minutes there's no way that we can describe your life or your career, because it takes me 10 minutes to tell what I know about you. And I've not known you for probably about 12 to 13, 14 years personally, and you but have known you personally for that length of time. But anyway, I'm going to start with some questions, if you don't mind. Just to describe your career for me.
Well, it's been a long career. As you know, you wouldn't be interviewing me if I wasn't up in age. So we'll cross over that. I was in the gas business, service station business, record business for some 25 years. 5 of those years before I was drafted into the service. Spent 2 years in the armed forces. Came out, bought another gas station, finished college on the GI Bill, and got into politics early. Spent some 12 years on the county commission, and back then you called them squires, or it was a quarterly court. And I remember well that when I was elected onto the county court, that I was about 30 years old. The next youngest man on that court was probably 65. So quite obviously, I didn't have a lot of success pushing things until I got a little seniority. After I'd been there 8 or 10 years, I feel real good about the accomplishments that our county made during this was in the 70s, early 80s. And then, I was fortunate enough to be elected mayor of the city, a job that I deeply appreciated the people having the confidence in me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. After 12 years there, the job at the Beach River Watershed came open. I applied and I was selected. At that time, the mayor's office did not pay a great deal of money, and I felt like I owed it to my family to take advantage of a better job. So I've had 13 years there now, and I've really enjoyed working for the Beach River Watershed. So a pretty long career.
Pretty long. And listen, they just had a party for you Wednesday. You just have recently retired as of Wednesday, right?
As of Monday.
As of Monday.
As of Monday, and it was overwhelming, and had a great turnout, and it was one of the better days of my life, I'll assure you.
And I guess one of the things that I'm kind of laughing about on the inside is you're fixing to go on a trip to Alaska, and you're going to camp all the way there and all the way back. Is that correct?
That is our plans. Myself and one of the city councilmen, Johnny Castleberry, who in fact used to work for me out on the interstate while he was off in the summertime he was a school teacher. And so Johnny and I, we're going to drive to Anchorage, Alaska, and we're going to camp going and camp coming back if weather don't get too bad, But we're planning on that in late July this year.
Backup plans hotel.
Well, that's exactly right. And this has always been on my bucket list, and I just recently contacted a buddy that I had in Vietnam that I had not spoken to for 44 years, and got hold of him, so I'm going to be visiting him.
Well, great. Well, I'm going to come into a couple of other questions here. Describe the changes you have experienced in our community.
Well, there's been a lot of changes in Henderson County. I think, I grew up in the early 50s, and, I was right after World War II, and as you well know, there were a lot of changes going on about that time, and people were coming back, going back to school on the GI Bill. Professionals, people were going back to school, and I saw some movement. Up until then, when I was a kid, there was a cotton patch, a shirt factory, and a sawmill. It's the early 50s, but Lexington came across some leadership in the late 50s, 60s, and some local people. Most of them had ulterior motives, One of the gentlemen was Mr. L.T. Hay. He owned the Coca-Cola bottling company. Well, naturally, if you have jobs and more people, you're going to sell more Coca-Colas.
Mm-hmm.
But he, along with Mr. Amos at the bank, and later Jack Hayes, the mayor here in Lexington, we did see some success, especially with manufacturing jobs.
Now, what one event in the past that caused our community to be successful as it is? That one thing.
But if I was going to put my finger on one thing that in my lifetime that was probably the development of the lakes here in Henderson County. I look back over that time. I watched them being built, and I was in the service station business at the time in 1963, and I was fortunate enough to do a lot of business with TVA and gasoline, servicing the trucks, selling them the ice to go into drinking water and things of that nature. So it was good years. The early 60s were good here. The jobs that came in, it was some 400 jobs that paid really well. They were union jobs, and most of the people that worked building these lakes were local people. They did not bring them in. They just came from the community.
They utilized the
But
community.
it was a change for Henderson County. It really was.
Well, what have you seen or experienced over your professional life that had an impact on your community?
You're going to have to ask that again.
What have you seen or experienced over your professional life that had an impact on the community?
Well, I think I'd go back to the same thing, that there was a change in mind. There was a mind change on how you were going to make a living in Henderson County.
Mm-hmm.
Farming was going away. Manufacturing was coming down from the north. They were running from the unions, call it like it is. And the prospects were out there. They really were, and we took advantage. I know the 90s, I go back to the 90s, but the 90s were really good years. You know, you had the internet come on, and the towns and cities that got behind in the 90s, they're still behind. They just didn't take advantage of the 90s because, you know, you could get those manufacturing jobs if you went looking. Really good.
Let's go on here funny stories, but I'm going to kind of say that to the last because I know we'd be sitting here all day if I asked you funny stories because I've heard a lot of those from you. What do you want to accomplish with the rest of your life for our community?
Well, you know, I'm just retired and I don't have any immediate plans except the trip to Alaska. And after that's over, I want to stay involved with the veterans of the VFW. We'll continue to do what kind of work I can do for the veterans in Henderson County. Other than that, I have no immediate plans.
Well, this is one, if you could leave one message to the future generations, what would it be?
I gave some thought to that because you asked me about doing this interview. We don't need to forget history, but we don't need to dwell on history. We need to dwell on the now and the future. And I think so, but we don't need to forget what's happened in the past. A lot of things can be learned by just reading and looking back at what has been done in the past. So that would be my recommendation, especially young people, is it's the now and it's tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. As you look back, what do you wish you had accomplished that you haven't?
Can't name a thing.
I'm sitting here, that would be everybody hard.
Can't name a thing.
Because one thing that I do know about you, once you set your mind to it, you will find the resources, or you will go out and create the resources to get it done. And
life has been good.
Yes, it has. How do you want to be remembered, David?
You know, you want to be remembered as a good father, and you want to be remembered as somebody that loved their city, their county, and especially their country. And that's enough.
I don't think you're going to have any problems there. I'm going to kind of close this down. And I know that I'm not the only one person that's walked through your office that you've been a part of their success. There were some times that I was faced with some critical things in my life. I had to find an answer to the situation for me to move on and to be successful. And you have always had an open door for me. And I want you to know, I feel blessed to have the opportunity to have David Jowers as my friend.
Listen, I appreciate it.
Very much. Thank you.
It's good enough.